Hello there. I'd like to thank the judge for coming to watch this debate and also everyone involved just to hear about this very important issue that we have facing us today. Just a week ago, the government has legalized marijuana, just last week in fact. And now the issue has come up where we feel it would be best to society, best to the country, if we were to issue a full pardon for nonviolent marijuana offenders. We feel that we should pardon this specific group of the prison population for certain very specific reasons, three specific reasons. The first one is the issue of that our prisons are overcrowded. The second main issue is that marijuana is not really a threat to society after all. And the last issue is that these nonviolent offenders could transition from being a drain on society to a welcome improvement on society. To talk about the first issue of prison overcrowding, it's very important for one, the cost of prisons, the cost of running prisons is very much a drain on government budgets. And if we were to keep these offenders in prison, more people would get arrested for crimes, the supply of criminals would go up, therefore we would need more prisons to house them. That this could easily, over the next decade or so, become a tremendous drain on the federal budget as the increase for more prisons is on the rise. But that alone is not the only part of why of the overcrowding is important. Another aspect of the issue would be if they stayed in prison. It's almost as important as if they went out of prison. If they stayed in prison, prison is a place for anybody. It tends to promote bad habits. Fights happen in prison, make weapons, shanks, anything. A lot of bad influences are in prison, obviously because it's full of people that were arrested for doing bad things. If we keep these nonviolent offenders in prison, they would most likely tend to pick up many of these bad habits. They might not, but there's always a very good risk of that. Whereas if we compare it to if we let them out, then there's obviously no chance that they will pick up any bad habits from any of the prisoners, especially the more violent ones. So why take a chance, simply put? Another thing, the last part of this overcrowding of prisons would be the fact of just freeing up space. If we free up space in these prisons, we'll have more room, almost connected to the first part of the issue. If we free up the space in these prisons, we'll have more room to put violent offenders. We'll have more room to put people who have gotten charged for more serious crimes. Rape, murder, anything. Because realistically, drug use, when compared to such capital crimes, it's not violent, it's not as important. We need space to put these more violent offenders. And that's connected to the first issue because if we have this space, there will be less of a demand for more prisons in the short and long term. A second main issue that we're dealing with here when we're considering this issue is that marijuana is not really as much of a threat to society as we once thought it was. There's a couple reasons for this. Well, one, because already before marijuana was legalized last week, there's clearly a huge black market for marijuana. Any person on a college campus that wants marijuana will likely be able to find the connections to get it. Likewise, even out of college campuses, marijuana is everywhere in the United States, despite our former war on drugs. It's still there. It doesn't go away. It doesn't matter how much you try to limit it. And not to mention, if something is limited, people are going to be more encouraged to do it, especially citizens within the young adolescent age block. And so because it's already existent, it's not, it's been clear that before this marijuana was legalized, it wasn't much of a threat to society anyway. So not much would be changing. In addition, there's already a significant amount of states where marijuana was used widespread for medicinal use, such as California. And clearly, states such as those, they don't see marijuana as that much of a threat as it once was, in general. The third main issue that is important for this discussion is that if we pardon these nonviolent offenders, once they're out of prison, yes?
2 minutes. Sorry, just want to go.
Oh, okay, all right. Gotcha. The third issue is, if these nonviolent marijuana offenders were out of prison, chances are, because they didn't commit a very heinous crime in the first place, it's most likely that they would go back to a normal life of being law-abiding citizens. Why is that important? If they're law-abiding citizens, they would pay taxes. That's very important. When they're in prison, the population, our country, is paying for them. We're paying for their meals, we're paying for their bedding, we're paying for everything. They're basically a drain on society. Well, let's change this. Why should nonviolent marijuana offenders be a drain on society when we can make them a valuable addition to society by their ability to pay taxes and contribute to the economy? It only makes sense. And so in general, we support pardoning nonviolent marijuana offenders because we have the very serious issue of overcrowding the prisons. We have the fact that marijuana is not really as much of a threat to society as we once thought it was. And the third point is we can change nonviolent marijuana offenders from being a drain on society to an addition to society. Thank you for your time.